Hello friends, welcome to another video of Zeta Axis, and today we are going to discuss about tropical monsoon and tropical marine climate system as discussed in the book J.C. Leong. Now this is the complete classification system of J.C. Leong, where he has classified different regions of the world into different climate types. However, J.C. Leong has not specifically mentioned what are the parameters he has used for doing so, or which specific climate classification system he has followed. So we will be comparing J.C. Leong with Köppen climate classification system, where we can clearly see that this is slightly different than J.C. Leong. This is the currently most widely accepted climate classification system, and if we put both of these climate classifications side by side, then we can certainly see that there are certain variations. In this map, if we see, then this red color region, which is indicated over here, is the tropical monsoon climate. And if we see, then this pink color regions, which is spread here, and then we can also see it in this region, in the Central American region. So all these are part of tropical marine climate. But if we see in the Köppen classification system, then this red color is equivalent to the tropical monsoon climate as well as tropical marine climate. And we can clearly see the extent over here is very different. Here we can see that it is spread over here. Then the regions which are here are also very small compared to the region which we can see over here. Therefore, there is various difference in the monsoon climate indicated by both of these systems. So do keep that in mind. Now, what is tropical monsoon climate? To understand it, here is our equatorial climate system. The example is of Kuala Lumpur, and we can see that there is significant rainfall throughout the year in each month. There is no month when there is dry period. There is no month when there is no rainfall. The temperature is also very equivalent or constant throughout the year. This is the savanna climate system, which we'll be discussing in next video. Here we can see the rain is significantly less compared to equatorial climate, as well as there are large number of months both in the winter and in summer where there are no rainfall. In between these two climate systems, we have tropical monsoon climate system, and we have taken the example of Mumbai. Now, one thing we can clearly see that all these three charts are having same scales, and we can see that the bar chart of this tropical monsoon is significantly higher than the equatorial climate, but there are significant seasons or months when there is no rainfall. So the average rainfall in tropical monsoon climate is almost equivalent to the amount of rainfall in equatorial climate, only slightly less. But there are months when there is rainfall is very less or there is no rainfall. And this is the key difference between tropical monsoon and equatorial climate. Here, the rainfall is concentrated in few months. Same phenomena we can see that here the rainfall is also concentrated in few months, but the amount of rainfall is very less. Here is a semi-arid type of environment. But when we see tropical monsoon climate, we can take example of Western Ghats. So it is nowhere less than the equatorial forest. So we can see that the rainfall or the amount of precipitation in the tropical monsoon climate is almost equivalent to the equatorial climate. And if we get these two charts, then the clear or the most significant difference is the amount of precipitation. Here it should be generally less than 100 or 70 centimeter, while here it should be more than 150 centimeter or 200 centimeter. So this is the key difference between both of these seasons. So if you get these charts, this is how you can identify. Now let's try to understand the wind movements in the tropical monsoon and tropical marine climate, because the movement of the winds is the very important difference between tropical monsoon and marine climate system. So here we can see there is this equator and there is sun which is over the equator. This is the ITCZ, which is very close to the equator and it is following the sun. Because the sun is moving in the southern direction, the ITCZ is also slightly in the southern hemisphere. We can see these are the easterly trade winds. Both of these trade winds in both the hemisphere, they flow from the eastern direction, you can see, and they meet on the ITCZ, and there they rise up and they give rainfall along the ITCZ. Now as the sun progresses its journey in the southern hemisphere, it reaches the tropical of Capricorn. and we can see the ITCZ. This is a position of the ITCZ, and we can see these are the locations where the trade winds from both the hemisphere meet. Now, as the sun starts to move in the northern hemisphere, we can see that the ITCZ also follows it. And now we can see the northernmost position of sun and the equivalent or the ITCZ position at that time. So we can see that there is vast change in the flow of winds during the both northern position of sun and southern position of sun. So because of this change in the direction of winds, in some regions it brings rainfall. Now to further understand it, we will see the same video, but now we will focus on these two specific regions. Now here we will see that when the winds start, here it is November, which is the winter season, and the wind here is moving away from the landmass, that it is moving from the northeastern direction. Now the sun is over here in the southern hemisphere, and it continues its movement in the southern hemisphere towards the Tropic of Capricorn, and we can see the wind is moving in the direction that is from northeast. Here also we can see that the wind is moving away from the land. So here the direction reverses, it is from southeast. Now as the summer approaches, we can see now the direction of the winds have changed. Now the wind is flowing from the Indian Ocean towards the Himalayas, that is from the southwestern direction. So these change of winds brings rainfall in this region. This change of wind direction is called monsoon, which is derived from the Arabic word Monsoon. So basically it is this wind which has changed direction, it brings rainfall in this region as well as in this region. Here we are seeing that wind is flowing from the land towards the sea, so it will not bring rainfall. But when the sun moves towards the Tropic of Capricorn, these trade winds, they will approach this region, and that will bring rainfall. So here the rainfall will be from northwestern direction. Here the rainfall is from southwestern direction. That is why here the monsoon is called southwesterly monsoon, and here it is called northwesterly monsoon. We can continue to see how the wind is flowing. Now in this real data, we can clearly see in the winter, the winds are flowing away from the landmass. They are moving in the northeastern direction from the Himalayas towards the Indian Ocean. So we can see the clear flow is towards the Indian Ocean. Now if we go to the summer, then we can see in the summer the winds are now moving from the Indian Ocean towards the Himalayas. These winds which are flowing over the Indian Ocean, they will carry the moisture, and they bring this moisture towards our Indian subcontinent as well as the adjoining regions, and they give a lot of rainfall. So it is these kind of winds which are called monsoon, and these monsoon, they bring rainfall in this region. Now based on our discussion, if we try to plot the tropical monsoon region, we can clearly see they are in the Indian subcontinent, that is this region. It includes Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan. Then we have this Indochina region. Remember, this region is called Indochina region, which has Vietnam, Myanmar, Cambodia, then Thailand, even Malaysia. So all these regions will have tropical monsoon climate, even South China region. And we have seen that this region also, North Australia, it sees tropical monsoon climate. So only these regions which are marked in red color are the tropical monsoon region. The rest are tropical marine climate, which we will discuss later in this video. Here we can see the Indochina region as Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and parts of Vietnam. Now to understand tropical marine climate, let's again see both the trade winds of northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere and focus in these regions. And you will see here that the trade winds will flow only in one direction throughout the year. The onshore trade winds, they flow in the same direction all year, and therefore the rainfall is more evenly distributed in the tropical marine climate. So here focus in these circles, and you can see that most of the time the winds are in same direction. Here the winds are from the north, here the winds are from the south. Same thing you can see on this coastal region of Australia. So here you can see that the winds will be coming from the south side. So in all of those regions, you will see that the wind or the trade wind will not change direction, and because the trade winds are flowing from the oceans towards the land, here the direction is from here towards this, while if we see here, then the direction will be from here towards this region. So because of this, these trade winds, they will carry moisture and they will give rainfall in these regions. Similar cases here, the winds will be flowing from this region towards here, bringing rainfall in the region. And similar case occurs over here. The winds which are flowing, they will be flowing in this direction, thus bringing moisture to the coastal region and thus giving rainfall in this region. So the difference between tropical monsoon and tropical marine is that in the tropical monsoon, the direction of wind changes, while in the marine, the trade winds, they flow in the same direction, and because the trade winds are flowing from the ocean towards the land, that is why they are carrying the moisture and they are bringing rainfall to the region. And now we will see the region of tropical marine around the world. We can see they are in Central America, this region, West Indies, these island regions, Guinea Coast, that is part of North Southern America, East Brazil region, East Africa, Madagascar, and then we have Philippines as well as Northeastern Australia. So these are the regions which have tropical marine type of climate. Now let's first see what is tropical monsoon climate in detail. So it is derived from Arabic word Mawsam. The monsoon word is derived from the Arabic word Mawsam, and it means seasonal reversal of winds in South Asia. Because of this change in winds, we have rainfall. And what causes the change in rain, as discussed in GC Leong, is differential heating of land and ocean. Remember, there are various other factors also which contribute to the reversal of winds. But because GC Leong only focuses on differential heating of land and ocean, we will be discussing only this. For rest of the factors, you can refer to the video on Indian monsoon. There we have discussed all the factors in grave details. So, to understand the differential monsoon, we have to understand the movement of Earth around the Sun. This is the orbit. Here is the December. We can see that Earth is closest to the Sun. In this position, this line, this yellow line, it indicates that a part of the Earth which is directly under the Sun, where the Sun is directly focusing its rays. So we can see that in the side view, it is over Tropic of Capricorn. Similarly here, it is in Tropic of Capricorn. This is the front view. And here, it is located in December. Now, as the Earth will progress in its orbit, we will approach March, which is beginning of summer. And now we can see that the Sun has moved at the equator. The amount of radiation received by this region has increased. So the heating of the land also increases. And as this Earth will further move towards June, towards this location, we will see that the Sun will be directly lying over the Indian subcontinent. We can see over here. So because of this, this region will get very heavily heated. And it is because of this heating, we will see that there will be a low pressure region developed in this region. Now the land mass will have low pressure, but the sea or the oceans, they will have high pressure because they have high heat capacity. They are not easily heated. So we will see that winds will flow from this ocean towards our Indian subcontinent. This is what is the concept of differential heating in summer, where the land mass is heated, creating a low pressure region, while the oceans are relatively cooler, creating a high pressure region. So the air moves from high pressure region towards the low pressure region. This is the basic concept of differential heating. So here we can see in the June, the Sun is over Tropic of Cancer. Sun is right over here. So we can see it is right over the Indian subcontinent. In the northern hemisphere, summer is there. Land mass of Asia gets heated. We can see that clearly it is heated. Intense low pressure over the land. So here we will have very high low pressure. In the southern hemisphere, there is winter. In this region, high pressure over southern hemisphere. So here we will have higher pressure compared to the land mass in this region. Therefore, winds will be attracted from the southern hemisphere towards the land region. So this is what G.C. Leong calls as the cause of monsoon. Here we can clearly see how these winds, we can see this is March, so we will see that these winds will follow the sun. The ITCG will follow the sun, and slowly these winds, it will start to move in the northern direction, and slowly by the mid-June these winds, they will arrive in the Indian subcontinent, bringing the rainfall. We can clearly see how the wind direction is changing in the Indian subcontinent region. This is the ITCG. Now let's try to understand the differential heating in winter. During the winter, the sun is in the southern hemisphere. It is heating the southern hemisphere. The sun is focusing in this region, while the northern region is having winter. So opposite conditions will develop. This position will have a low pressure region because it is heated, while here on the land it will be high pressure because it is cooler. Winter is going on. It is the month of December. This is the position. If you want to see here, the sun is over the Tropic of Capricorn. It is directly heating the southern hemisphere. You can see again the southern hemisphere is directly receiving the sun rays, and we are in December. This is the winter season. So during this month, what happens that this is having high pressure because it is cooler, and the sea is having a warmer. It is warm, so it is having low pressure. So wind will now start to move from the high pressure region towards the low pressure region. So G.C. Leong says that this is the reason why the wind is flowing from the land towards the ocean, that is northeastern winds flows during the winter season. Remember, this is a reason, but this is not the only reason. Jet streams also play a very significant role in the change of directions, and there are several other factors which we have discussed in our other video. So to summarize, in this should be December. So in December, the sun is over Tropic of Capricorn, the northern hemisphere is having winter, and there is high pressure region over the northern hemisphere or over this landmass. Winds blow out of the land, and northeast monsoon winds we see. In the southern hemisphere there is summer, and it is having low pressure. Winds from north, from this region, they will cross the equator and reach over here. So this is how the differential heating plays important role in changing the direction of the winds. Now let's try to understand different seasons of tropical monsoon climate. So the tropical monsoon climate can be divided into three main parts. The first is cool and dry season period, which starts from October and lasts till February. Then we have hot and dry season, which starts from March and lasts till mid-June. And the third is rainy season, which is from mid-June towards September. Here is the rainfall graphs of the tropical monsoon region. And we can clearly see that the first is cool dry season from October to February. So here we can see that there is a temperature drop in Delhi. This is for Delhi and this is for Mumbai. So Mumbai does not see significant change in temperature during the winters, but in Delhi region we can see that there is significant drop in the temperature in the winter season. The rainfall is also very less compared to this monsoon season. So it is cool and dry season. And why it is cool and dry season? We know that there is high pressure. Air from upper atmosphere, it is descending or sinking over our northern Indian subcontinent. And it is because of this descending air, this air gets heated and it will give no rainfall. So there is winter in the North India during this time. There is high pressure region near Punjab, and air descends over Punjab region. Thus, these particular winds, they will not give any rainfall. Moreover, they create high pressure over the land and low pressure is there over the oceans. Remember, this is relative. Since here the pressure increases, it will be relatively higher than the pressure over here. That is why it is indicated as high pressure and low pressure. Now the northeast winds. So because there is high pressure over here, the winds will move from this region towards the Indian Ocean from the northeastern direction. So this is what is called that northeast monsoon winds, they will flow, and these are dry winds blowing out of landmass. So these winds are dry because they are coming from the land. They do not carry any moisture. They do not give much rainfall. There are certain exceptions. but in general terms, they do not give rainfall. Now, we were talking about certain exceptions. The first is the western disturbance, which is experienced in the northern India. These are extratropical cyclones from Mediterranean region. So here we can see that there is an extratropical cyclone forming over the Mediterranean region, and this is our jet stream. Now this extratropical cyclone, it gets coupled with the jet stream, and this jet stream will carry this extratropical cyclone towards our Indian subcontinent and bringing the rainfall. This type of rainfall is called western disturbance. Now similarly, we see that the winds, they are northeastern winds. When they are flowing in the Bay of Bengal, they again come over the peninsular region in the Tamil Nadu region, especially near Chennai. So we can see that these winds are northeastern monsoon winds. And when they are flowing over the Bay of Bengal, they will capture moisture. And when they will come over here, there are mountains in this region. These airs will rise up and they will give rainfall in this region. So here we receive rainfall during the winter season. So there are two main exceptions, the western disturbance and the northeastern monsoon winds, which bring rain to South Indian peninsula. So here is the summary. The cool dry season from October to February, it has high pressure over Punjab region because the air is descending. It does not give rainfall. This descending air does not give rainfall. Then we experience western disturbance, which brings rainfall to northern India, and it is vital for wheat crops. And then in the southern India, we see northeastern monsoon, which brings rain to South India. So these are the important events occurring in the first or in the cool and dry season period of our tropical monsoon climate. Now let's focus on the second season of our tropical monsoon climate, that is hot and dry season, which starts from March and lasts till mid-June. Now if you see this hot and dry season, then we've already seen that in the Earth's orbit, when it moves from the December to June period, the sun, which is in the southern hemisphere, it will start to move in the northern hemisphere, and when it reaches March, it is on the equator. Now as the Earth will move further to this region in the June, we can clearly see that the Earth is directly receiving these rays, and the Indian subcontinent is directly under the sun. The sun is heating this region. So large amount of heat is absorbed, and this raises the temperature. We can clearly see in all these four cities, Mumbai, Delhi, Mangaluru and Kolkata, the temperature is higher in this region. However, if you see, the rainfall is very less. Now here we are not going to discuss in detail this phenomena, because we have discussed this in detail in our another video, but here we can clearly see that the rainfall is very less in all of these regions which are marked by this red circle. And the cause for this is mainly that because of the jet streams which are overhead, a high pressure region is created on our Indian subcontinent, and because of this high pressure which is formed over Indian subcontinent, the monsoon winds which are here, they cannot reach the Indian subcontinent. Here in this video we can clearly see that these are the monsoon winds in April and May, but because of the existing high pressure over the Indian subcontinent, because of this jet streams, these monsoon winds, they are not able to enter the Indian subcontinent, and that is why we have very high temperature but no rainfall. So let's see the characteristics of this second part of our season, that is hot dry season. It has sun moves over Tropic of Cancer, sun is now directly over Indian subcontinent, high temperature across North India, low humidity due to descending air. The air is descending. Remember, we have seen that because of the jet streams, air is descending, it is getting adiabatically heated. So it has low humidity, it does not give rainfall. By May, low pressure zone over North India, pre-monsoon showers they occur. Now even though the monsoon winds are not able to reach India, because of the heat, we will see convectional rainfalls in various parts of our India. So they are called pre-monsoon showers. Remember, they are called pre-monsoon because these rainfalls are not caused by the monsoon winds, but they are convectional rainfall because of the high heat received by Indian subcontinent. Now let's see the third part of the tropical monsoon climate, the rainy season. And we know that from mid-June to September we have the rainy season. Here these monsoon winds, they are able to reach the Indian subcontinent, because we can see that the southern part of jet stream is not there. These monsoon winds, they spread all over the Indian subcontinent and bring rainfall to this region. Now here we can see how rainfall arrives in India. We can see that in 1st June it starts in Kerala, and slowly as the days passes it reaches the North Indian part, completely covering the India by 1st July, where we can see that parts of Rajasthan and Punjab, they also get rainfall. This is how monsoon arrives slowly in this region. Now here we can see the rainfall in this period of May to September or June to September. We can clearly see that 95%, that is almost 95% of the total rainfall that is received by our Indian subcontinent is within these 4 months, that is the months of September, August, June and July. So these are the 4 months in which we receive almost 95% of our rainfall. So we can see that the rainfall is concentrated only in 4 months. So here are the characteristics of the third season. We can see arrival of monsoon in Indian subcontinent occurs in around mid-June. Torrential rainfall in 4 months. 95% of the total rainfall is concentrated in these 4 months. And there is heavy rainfall which decreases the temperature throughout the Indian subcontinent. Now let's see retreating monsoon. We have already seen that the monsoon arrives in India by mid of June, but it starts again to move away from India by 1st of September. The retreat starts from Punjab, and we see that this period has clear sky and dry season, that is there is no precipitation and no rainfall, and northeast winds flow over Indian subcontinent. We can see this is how slowly the monsoon winds, they will blow out of our Indian subcontinent and they will be replaced by northeastern winds. The similar process can be seen over here. These are the northeastern winds and these are the monsoon winds. We can see that now northeastern winds have replaced the monsoon winds. The jet stream has also moved south of Himalayas, creating a high pressure region over Indian subcontinent. Now this part of the retreating monsoon or the northeastern monsoon, it flows over Bay of Bengal, and during its movement it will capture moisture and give rainfall to this region. We have already discussed this in the earlier part of our video. So that is why in the retreating monsoon also we get rainfall in this southern peninsular region. Here we can see some important cities of southern India, and we can see we have Coimbatore, Chennai, Kochi and Madurai, and we can see that there is spike in the amount of rainfall in the winter months. We can see in Chennai there is significant rainfall in the November month because of this retreating monsoon. Similarly for Madurai also we can see in October the amount of rainfall increases. Now let's see tropical marine climate. We have covered tropical monsoon climate. Now we will try to understand tropical marine climate. So it is experienced along the eastern coasts of tropical lands. Why eastern coasts? Because in this region we know that easterlies trade winds blow. What are easterly trade winds? In the northern hemisphere they will flow in this direction, and in the southern hemisphere if we come, then it will flow in this direction. So because of this, only on the eastern boundaries of the continents we will see the tropical marine climate, because they are bringing moisture from the ocean towards the land and they are blowing from the eastern direction. Therefore, they will affect only the eastern side of the continents. That is why all the regions, you can see even here we have the easterly winds which will be flowing from this direction, bringing moisture and thus giving rainfall over here. And similarly in Africa, you will see that equator which is loosely passing through this region, and when we will see, then the winds that is from the southern hemisphere, the trade winds, they will flow in this direction, thus bringing moisture to this region and giving rainfall to this area. So this is how the continent margins on the eastern sides, they will have the tropical marine climate. Now rainfall is from the trade winds. We have already covered that. Rainfall types are orographic because there are mountains in this region. Here we have Brazil highlands. So when the winds come, it is blocked and we see orographic rainfall. Orographic rainfall is the rainfall which is caused by the upliftment of the winds by a mountain. Convectional rainfall also occurs here because of intense heating of the land, because of higher temperatures. Remember, these regions are very close to the equator. The equator is roughly over this region. It passes through this region. So here the temperatures is higher, which causes convectional rainfall. Now here is the comparison of tropical monsoon and tropical marine climate. Remember, this is southern hemisphere. This is in Australia. Therefore, January and December are summer months in Australia. So here also the peak of the precipitation is in summer, and in winter we see that there is very little rainfall. Now let's do the comparison. Here we can see that very high amount of rainfall occurs, but the rainfall is concentrated in few months. Here we can clearly see that the rainfall is occurring throughout the year, but there are months when the rainfall is very less, and there are months when the rainfall is very high. In both of these, the rainfall is concentrated in summer month. Again, this is southern hemisphere, therefore December is summertime in Australia. So these are the characteristics. Tendency for summer maximum. December is summer. No dry month. We can clearly see that there is no dry month. Rainfall due to trade winds we have already seen, and because the trade winds are consistent throughout the year. Evenly distributed rainfall occurs. The rainfall are evenly distributed. 70% of the rainfall concentrated in 4 months. So earlier in the monsoon we saw 95% of the rainfall was concentrated here. 70% of the rainfall is concentrated in 4 months. Temperature, summer to winter average difference is 7 degrees Celsius. So if we see the months having highest temperature and the months having lowest temperature, we will see a difference of around 7 degrees Celsius. So the range is wider than the equatorial climate, where we saw that the difference was only 3 degrees Celsius. Tropical marine region is prone to cyclones. And why is this? You can clearly see these are the paths of tropical cyclones, and these yellow color regions are roughly the regions having tropical marine climate. We can clearly see that these cyclones, they move in the east to west direction, so they collide with the eastern margin of these continents. In fact, the monsoon climates which we see here, they are also prone to cyclones. So we can see that both the tropical monsoon and tropical marine climates are prone to cyclones. We encounter lots of cyclones, as we can see over here. Now let's see the vegetation in the tropical monsoon forests. Now the vegetation, it depends on the amount of rainfall. If the medium amount of rainfall occurs, then we will see deciduous trees which shed their leaves to combat drought. If the region has heavy rainfall like Myanmar, peninsular India, in fact Western Ghats, our northeastern India, the coastal regions, the tropical marine climates, so we will see their evergreen to deciduous forest. So there are evergreen forest as well as deciduous forest in those regions which has very high rainfall. And our Meghalaya, Nagaland, Manipur, these are examples of the regions which are in monsoon climate. But because of very high rainfall, we see evergreen trees. The forests are less luxuriant than equatorial forest, meaning they are more open. So we will see some empty spaces or some difference between the trees, and there will be some open areas. Fewer species are there compared to the equatorial forests. Here we can see a comparison. This is the tropical monsoon forest and this is the equatorial forest. Here we can see that the trees are much more closer because a lot of water is available over here. A lot of sun is there. Now even the tropical monsoon forests, they also give timber which is very durable. Teak is the most important tree from tropical monsoon forests. Its timber is used in shipbuilding and furniture building. There are other trees which are also important for giving their timber: sal, acacia, bamboo and eucalyptus, especially in Australia. Remember, teak and sal are the two most important timber producing trees of tropical monsoon climate. Now even within the tropical monsoon region, there are regions which receive less rainfall, like as you move more polewards or you are in the leeward side of the mountains, like our central peninsular region. So there the rainfall is less. So when there is decrease in the rainfall, the forests reduce to thorny scrublands. Scrubs are basically these kind of small plants or trees which are in between plants and trees, and scattered trees with tall grass. So savanna kind of forests are seen now. They are found in Indian subcontinent, mainly on the leeward side of our Western Ghats as well as in Madhya Pradesh. So the regions with less rainfall, semi-desert like condition is there. It is seen in the interior peninsula, Madhya Pradesh, parts of Gujarat, Rajasthan, and even in parts of Uttar Pradesh. So monsoon forest, we can see variations from forest to thickets. Thickets are dense stand of single tree species. So in the monsoon vegetation, in the monsoon forests, we can see that there will be somewhere very dense forest like we have discussed in the Western Ghats or northeastern India, but then there are regions where there are thickets, that is single species of trees will be closely located, then there will be very wide opening. Again you will see that there are single species trees which are closely bundled together. So these kind of forests can be seen. Moreover, savanna to scrubland can be seen, where scrubland means land consisting of scrub or bushes. So these are not completely trees, not very small plants, in between somewhere. These are called scrublands, and these are the savannas where we see that there are trees which are scattered and then there are grasslands. So these kind of forests are called savanna, and savanna climate is a separate climate system which we will see in next video, which has exactly this kind of landscape. So what is the difference between tropical monsoon climate and tropical marine climate? In both of them, we see that the rainfall is concentrated in 4 months. However, in the tropical monsoon climate, we have distinct dry and wet season. There are months where there is no rainfall. In the tropical marine climate, we have no distinct dry season and no month without rainfall. Rainfall is mainly caused by changing wind direction. These winds are called monsoon winds. So the monsoon winds, they give rainfall here, and they are the winds that change direction. Here the rainfall is mainly by permanent winds which flow in the same direction. That is, these are the trade winds which give rainfall in the tropical marine climate. Now let's see agricultural development in monsoon lands. Here are the characteristics of agriculture in this region. We know that Indian subcontinent and Southeast Asia has very high population density. Therefore, there is lack of abundant land like in European or American countries. Now, large population is dependent on agriculture. Therefore, we see subsistence agriculture, that is agriculture to meet basic needs. Here, the agriculture is not done for selling in the market, but just for own consumption because the land is very small. Moreover, because of large demand of lands, we see large vegetation and lands are cleared for agriculture purpose. We see forests have been cut down so that we can do farming over there. Terrace farming is done in hills. Here again the forests are cleared. Flood irrigation is prevalent in the plain region, where what we do is that we take a field and then it is flooded with the water. This is the most normal practice of irrigation in this region. Rain-fed agriculture, that is the rain in most of the regions is dependent on rainfall. Land also faces severe issues because of severe deforestation. We see soil erosion due to clearing of vegetation, and because the same land is used over the generations, we see that their quality deteriorates. It decreases, the yield or the produce decreases over the years. Now let's try to understand different types of agriculture in tropical monsoon and marine climate. So the first is wet paddy or rice cultivation. The rice is the most important staple food of this region of the Indian monsoon climate, that is both in the India, especially the eastern India and southern India, as well as the Southeast Asia. It is grown in regions with more than 170 centimeter rainfall or regions having sufficient irrigation. Rice is mostly cultivated only in monsoon climate. So if you see the regions which are outside of this tropical monsoon climate, very less amount of rice farming occurs. There are two types of rice farming, wet paddy and dry paddy. In wet paddy, it is grown generally in the lowlands or in terraces in high field where there is sufficient amount of irrigation. So these kind of flooding occurs in this kind of wet paddy cultivation. We see that these are the terraces, these are the fields, and they are filled with water. Dry paddy farming occurs in the regions where there is less rainfall. Other types of plants which are cultivated are maize, millet, sorghum, wheat, beans and gram. There are several other varieties also which are grown over here. Then the major focus is lowland cash crops like sugarcane. Two-thirds of the produce of sugarcane comes from tropical countries. So in the tropical countries, sugarcane is grown in abundant amount. It needs abundant rainfall and sunshine. India, Brazil, Cuba are the major producers. Then comes jute, which is mainly confined to Ganga-Brahmaputra Delta, that is in Bangladesh and in India. Even in India, it is confined to Odisha and West Bengal. It is used to produce fiber for gunny bags. So these kind of fibers are produced from the jute plant. Then there is another crop, Manila hemp, which is mainly grown in Philippines and that too in a specific region. It is grown for rope production. Indigo, cotton, and there are several other cash crops which are grown in the tropical monsoon climate. In the highland region, that is on the hills, we see plantation was started by Europeans. It was initially only for export to Europe, like the tea or coffee. But over the time, it is now consumed by local population and therefore it is grown for local consumption as well. Large forests on hills have been cleared for plantation farming. Coffee and tea are the two most important plantation crops. There are several others as well, but these are the two most significant. It originated in Ethiopia and Arabia. Remember, these African countries and this is the Asian country, so this is where it was first originated. Brazil is the largest producer of coffee currently, and it is cultivated on the eastern slopes of Brazilian plateau. It is also grown in Central America, India and Java. Then comes tea, which is originated in China. It needs more moderate temperature and high rainfall. Therefore, it is grown on hill slopes because tea does not like waterlogging. It is grown in India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. China also produces tea, but it is only for local consumption, while these are the exporters. Lumbering is also an important activity in the tropical monsoon climate where timber is extracted by cutting down the trees. It is mainly important in Southeast Asia, especially the teak trees in Myanmar. Teak wood is very durable, strong, and it is immune to shrinkage, fungus attack, and insects. Therefore, the teak trees are very valuable. The teak trees can be grown to height up to 900 meters, and it is grown under the supervision of Myanmar government because they have to manage it. They have to replace the trees which have been cut. In northern Myanmar, near the Cheng River region, we have large plantations of teak, which is managed under government control. When new plants of teak are planted, it takes around 100 years for the teak plant to mature. So it takes a lot of years for the timber to get ready. Green teak does not float on the water. Remember, the green teak trees, they will not float. They are hardwood. They will sink in the water. Therefore, the teak trees are poisoned years before chopping or cutting them. Because of this, they become hollow and it becomes light. Therefore, it can float on the water. So this poisoning technique of tea is used to decrease the transportation cost. Another feature of the agriculture in this region is shifting agriculture. Here, the fields are burned. It is cleared. Then farming is done here for 1 or 2 years. Then they move on to another region by burning it, clearing it. Again, after 2 years, they will move to another place. Here, no manure or fertilizer is used. Crops are left to the nature. Generally, hoes and sticks. So they do not have proper instruments for plugging. They use hoes and sticks for plugging and seeing. Low labor animal labor is there and mostly human labor is used. Now the reason why shifting agriculture is done because tropical soils are heavily leached, that is they have less amount of nutrients. Nutrition is from humus, that is dead parts of vegetation, and this humus is consumed in couple of years, and that is why they have to move to next location because they do not use artificial or even natural manures. That is why shifting agriculture has to move from one place to another place. So this is all we have to cover in the tropical, monsoon and marine climate. If you have liked the video, then do subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends. We are going to cover all the climatic regions discussed in GC Leong, so do watch all the videos.